guys, Krabby Chaos Coordinator back with another video today. If you enjoy soup as much as I do, then you'll love today's video. I actually tried a new recipe with my family and we made broccoli cheddar soup. It's creamy, dreamy, and oh so good. And the best part is it takes minimal ingredients, a lot of things that you probably already have on hand. So let's go ahead and get started and I'll show you how we did it. We're gonna start with our seasonings here. We've got some paprika, garlic powder, salt and pepper, and then you'll see some chicken bouillon here too, because that's what I use for chicken broth. So I'm gonna start putting everything together, measuring everything out so that it's ready to go when I need it. Having all your ingredients prepared ahead of time, especially when you're doing a new recipe, is really important. It makes it easier to get everything put together, and it also makes sure when you're making a new recipe that you haven't missed anything and that you're ready for the process ahead. So the recipe we used is from the Chunky Chef. I found it on Pinterest. I will put a link to her recipe below. It's super simple, and it comes with instructions for stovetop, crockpot, or Instant Pot, which is what I'm using today. The next thing to prepare is flour. So it calls for a half cup of flour. I'm doubling the recipe that she has. This is a thickener for the recipe and it's part of what makes it so creamy. Now I'm preparing my vegetables. So I have onions that I'll get all chopped up, although I'm not putting too much effort into making them nice and tiny just because they're gonna cook down and we're gonna use the immersion blender to make it all creamy at the end anyway. So you don't need to put too much effort into making them perfect chunks. Now you'll see me preparing my carrots. I'm peeling them and then I'm going to dice them into a small cube. You want to make sure you do that, otherwise they may not get cooked in the Instant Pot since it's a fairly short cooking time. I took a shortcut to dicing them and used my veggie chopper because I was already doing meal prep this day, but you can always do this by hand, whatever works best. And the carrots are a really important ingredient here. They actually add a little bit of sweetness and they take away any bitterness that the broccoli might have. Now it's time for the star of the show, the broccoli. Just give it a rough chop and it'll be ready to go. So my Instant Pot has been heating up on the saute function and I'm just gonna add a tablespoon of butter. I ended up cutting the butter back. I used the full amount here, but she does call for more butter later and I didn't put as much in, but I'll get to that. So once the butter is melted a bit, I'm gonna go ahead and add in my onions to start, and they're gonna saute for a little bit to soften, and then I'm gonna add the carrots as well. It didn't say to do that, but I wanted to make sure that my carrots got completely cooked during the process. Now that the vegetables have sauteed for a few minutes, it's time to add a little bit more butter and we'll add the flour to make a roux to thicken the soup. She calls for what would have been a half a cup of butter additional, and I only used a little under a quarter cup and I found it to be plenty. And once you pour that flour in, you have to stir for about a minute. It might stick a little bit, but it'll work just fine. Just get that butter the rest of the way melted and get your flour incorporated and cook for about a minute. Now it's time to add the broccoli and every other ingredient minus the cream. Give everything a bit of a stir and then clamp on the lid, and you're gonna set it to high for 8 minutes. Once the cooking time is up, you'll need to let it release naturally. Once all the pressure is down, then you'll go ahead and open the lid. Get ready for a steamy facial. And now it's time to grab your immersion blender. You actually can do this without the stick blender and use a regular blender, but I find it much easier if you have the option to do the immersion blender right in the pot. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this blended down. You can do it as creamy or as chunky as you like. It's completely up to you. We wanted ours completely creamy and dreamy, so I pulverized it until it was super smooth. So once you have your soup blended to your desired consistency, go ahead and add the half and half. So she calls for quite a bit. I actually deliberately cut it back because I thought we didn't need as much and it honestly tasted just fine. I added a blend of milk and the half and half, and I only used a partial amount. I'm not sure exactly how much I used, but she would have called for a full 2 cups in a single recipe, so it would have been 4 for a double. For me, that was a little bit too much, so we probably would go with about 2 cups of half and half and 1 cup of milk, maybe at the most, for a double batch for our family. Once the cream is incorporated, now it's time for the cheese. Just add it a little bit at a time and then let it melt into the soup. Once it's all melted and you've blended it to the right consistency, then it's time to serve it up. So here's our creamy, dreamy broccoli cheddar soup. So good. We served ours with a little bit of kielbasa on the top and a little extra cheese, but I'm thinking after Thanksgiving it might be good as a side with some turkey sliders with leftover Thanksgiving turkey. It could be good with a lot of different things. So my family really enjoyed this one. I wasn't sure how well it would go over, but everybody really liked it, and we're gonna put it in the rotation. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this video inspires you to try a new soup recipe with your family. Let me know in the comments if this one looks good or if there's another one you'd like to try. And of course, as always, thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.